What's going on, YouTube family? Today we have a very controversial topic. Are car salesmen good or are they bad? Now, I know everybody's going to blow up the comment section saying, oh, car salespeople are horrible, they lie, they cheat, and they steal. But believe it or not, there are a lot of really good salespeople out there. Now, there are a few bad ones, but majority of the reasons why I think there's more bad salespeople and why you're going to see this trend continue is because of weak management. Now, the whole purpose of this channel is to be transparent about the automotive industry and give you a peek behind the curtain to show you exactly what's going on and how this weak management is really affecting car sales and giving car salesmen such a bad name. So believe it or not, there are true sales professionals when it comes to selling cars. Now I'm going to tell you a story about my friend Bruce, but just like if you find maybe your favorite restaurant, you use the same mechanic, a plumber, whatever else, once you build trust and a relationship with that person, you tend to go back there anytime you need business, service, or just want to go visit them. And that's what Bruce really believed in. Now, when I met Bruce, he was 70 years old, and the way he did things were absolutely amazing. Now, he had this massive Rolodex on his desk where he would spin around and he had every person's name, phone number, birthday, anniversary, how many kids they had, their pets, everything written down on there. And this man would send out hundreds of cards every single month. He knew that keeping in contact with your client and staying ahead with them, finding out what they're doing in their lives and really building that professional bond is what helps people build trust when it comes to buying and selling cars. And Bruce was a master at this. This guy every day would show up for 2 to 3 hours and he would have 2 to 3 appointments lined up and he'd be in and out of the dealership like that. And if anybody's ever bought in a car, you know that is a very unique experience. They trusted Bruce where they say, hey, I want this car, this is what I'm looking for, and this is how much I could spend. Bruce would find the car, get everything done, send pictures, make sure that the financing was done. So when the customer came in, all they had to do was test drive it. He would sign them and they would go. And then he would go right back to the next client and do the exact same thing. Now, all the other salesmen kind of made fun of Bruce because he was the old school sales professional. And so when I talked to him, I asked him, what made you do what you did? And he told me that he used to work with the pharmaceutical rep. And that's exactly what he did. He kept track and building relationships with all of his clients. It was about catering to them, making sure that they were being listened to, making sure you take care of them, and whatever you can do to help the customer, that's what your job is. And so back in the day, that was the way of treating your customer and taking care of it. But nowadays, we're in a completely different era where we're in the yell and scream, hard closing, salespeople, don't be nice to your customer thing, and it kind of changed the automotive industry. Now, when I started selling cars, my belief was I would show the customer the car and let them look at it. And if they liked the car, they would make their own decision on whether to buy it. I'm not going to force somebody, try to choke it down their throat, because there's always buyer's regret, whether they pick it or they don't. So I'll just let them, deal with that on their own. But this is where I say weak management comes into role. Now, I don't know how these sales managers get their jobs, but usually it's whoever's been the longest at the dealership, which means whoever brown noses the most with the actual owner. And so this sales guy will usually get spoon-fed deals to basically boost himself up to sales manager. And then from there, he's trying to get as many sales as he can because that's how he gets paid. So now he yells at all of his people, hey, I need you to sell a car. And he doesn't care if you're looking like a jerk in front of your customer, you're ruining a relationship, you're trying to stick them in a car that they don't like. At the end of the day, the only thing that sales manager cares about is the money in his pocket. And this is where the dynamic starts to spread. And this is why I say weak management leads to bad salespeople. Perfect example of this is the way I teach my people and the way I talk to customers is if you come into my lot, I'll walk up to you, say hello, how can I help you? Is there anything you need? Now, if you tell me, hey, I'm busy or I don't want to be bugged or I'm not looking at a car or you don't have any questions, I always say, no problem. I'm standing over here. Let me know if you need anything. I always walk away from the customer, even if they're rude, which believe it or not, the customers are always rude. We stand all the way back and we just wait for them to ask a question. If they want to test drive a car, look at something. But if the customer starts talking to me, it's my job as a professional salesperson to start building rapport. So I need to learn all I can about the customer to help take care of them and find out their needs. Hey, I see you folks drove in with a minivan. Are you guys planning on trading that in? No? Okay, well now I know that they're not going to trade that in. They're looking for a second car. What kind of car are you looking for? I see you have a few kids. Are you guys looking for something bigger, something smaller, something for economy? Just trying to figure out my clients. Oh, are you guys new to the area? How long have you been at your job? All these things to help pre-qualify my customer to make sure I steer them in the right place when it comes to them looking for cars. But with these weak sales managers, they don't teach their people how to pre-qualify customers. They're all like, get them and get them in the box. Get their number, get their phone number, cell number, email, everything else. Even if they don't want a car, if they flat out tell you, we're just killing time, we just want to walk around and take a look at cars, these sales managers will force these sales guys to get phone numbers and emails. And if they don't, they actually get yelled at or even in trouble or fired. And this is where the biggest disconnect of these weak ass sales managers come from, is because they're not real salespeople. They're all weak. They're just lazy people that just keep grinding people until they basically make the sales rep hated. And this is why I think so many people hate car salespeople, because believe it or not, it's not them. It's the management playing these games. If it was up to the salesman, they'd be like, hey, look, this car's 12 grand. I could probably get you $1,000 off and we can meet somewhere in the middle. Does that work for you? Great. Okay, cool. But they're not allowed to do that. Their job is to tell you that that $12,000 car is $15,000, because if they don't, the sales manager is probably going to yell at him and give him and probably fire him. And so even if he tells you a number, sometimes the sales manager will come in and tell him, oh, that number is wrong, and they'll raise the price up, and it'll make the salesperson look bad. I've actually dealt with sales managers like this, where the customer already was sitting there. They were happy with the price. They were happy with the car. The salesman built the rapport with the customer. Everything's good to go. All you got to do is sign the paperwork and go to finance. And the sales managers would go in there and just blow up the deal. Oh, we can't sell you that car for $28,000. We need at least $32,000 for it. Now the customer's upset. They're getting charged way more money. Now they think they've been lied to by the salesperson, which blows up their rapport, and it just kind of screws everything up. And this is, like I said, the same thing that keeps happening over and over at whether you go to a franchise store or an independent. And like I said, a lot of it is because of weak management. Now, there are a lot of salespeople out there training people how to work with customers, how to get better with them, which is great. That's some of the stuff that I do, and I even do on this channel, is how to build a rapport with your customer, because I want to help the customer figure it out. But in today's society, when it comes to the automotive industry, you're not supposed to help your customer. You need to tell them what to do. You got to yell, you got to scream. If you guys ever seen Andy Elliott, you got to be the man and yell at your, beta customers and scream at them and tell them exactly what they want and hard close them. Now, every salesperson has their way and tactic of selling. I always used to make people laugh. That was my thing. I'd make jokes. I'd kind of, build a rapport with them, and that's the way I did it. Some people are really nice. Some people, like I had a friend of mine, this guy would yell at people. Don't know how, but shout out to you, Felix, if you're watching. This guy would be literally go up to some guy's face. You're going to let your wife make the decisions? You're not a man. And I'm thinking this guy's going to get slapped. 2 minutes later, they're there signing paperwork for a brand new truck, and they're hugging each other, and they're leaving, and they're friends on Facebook now. And I'm just like, how did you do that? You're sitting here insulting this guy, but somehow he's buying the car. Every salesperson has their way of selling cars, which is funny. But at the end of the day, as long as you take care of them, I don't see anything wrong with it. But when these weak managers start coming in and screwing up your relationship or start pinning you against a customer, and even if you try to fight for your customer, like, hey man, this is a good dude. He's rebuilt his credit. He can't afford that payment. What is the first thing they tell you? If any sales guys are watching this, you're a car salesman, not a customer advocate. It's always a big thing in our industry. They always say you're in customer service, but then you can't help the customer. Your goal is to help the dealership. And so now, like I said, after years of doing this, this is the new normal. And so a lot of the older sales guys that I grew up with are all gone. And those guys don't get to pass on the wisdom and the experience to these new guys. And the new guys came in at the softest time ever, where, during the pandemic, not to sound bad, you can literally be borderline stupid and sell a car. I had friends of mine that were complete dum-dums that were selling, 20 to 30 cars a month just because everybody needed a car. They made more money than anything. It was almost like selling real estate back in 2006 and 7. You just went up a bunch of money even though you're a complete bird brain. And that's the way it was. And so now these salespeople haven't been taught all the right things. Now it's actually hard because people don't have money. Inflation's eating up all their paycheck. They're upside down in their cars. And this is where real sales professionals are going to shine. You're not going to hear them complain. You're not going to hear them tell their customers, oh, I can't help you. They're going to try to find a way somehow to help their customers. But like I said, these guys are few and far between. There's usually always one or two at every dealership, but they're very hard to get to because they're always slammed with deals. And so this is the reality of being a car salesman. Now, I know a lot of you guys are still going to hate them and talk trash about them, which is fine. But I always say, come with an open mind, because there are a lot of good people that sell cars. And even if you do meet one that's giving you trash, send them this video and say, hey man, I know exactly where you're in. Your sales manager's probably yelling at you, screaming at you. And that's another thing, the commission pay, a lot of salesmen don't get salary. They get commission. Now, may get paid minimum wage, but if they don't sell enough cars to cover their minimum wage, they get cut, they get fired. So a lot of these people are basically performance-based to make as many sales as possible so they can feed their families. Now, one thing I've noticed is there are a lot of companies going to a salary structure so they don't have to force sales anymore. I think this is helping the industry. Even CarMax says they do it, but they still offer bonuses if you do sell more. So it's not totally 100% like no commissions, no bonuses, because there really are. But that's the way I think it should go. So I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions on this topic. How do you feel about car salespeople now, knowing the fact that a lot of times their strings are being pulled by other people? Or have you had things where the car salesman was trying to help you, but the manager was fighting them, trying to go against them? You know, tell your story in the comment section below, because this is something that I think more people need to see, because as we go further down into this bad economy, I think a lot of people are going to really start hitting on salespeople because they can't get their dream cars. And you're just going to kind of see this spiral out of control. And now I'm seeing weak sales managers more than ever screaming at their salespeople to sell more cars, even though if you gave these guys a sales badge and told them to go out there and sell cars, they couldn't sell cars to save their lives because they have no customer rapport. So anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next video.